All right, gang, we're getting started just a couple of seconds early, but I want to welcome you to the weekly Mac Forum video chat. We'll get this November 13th, 2016 edition off and rolling right about on schedule here. Let me just close out one thing and we'll be all set to go. I want to remind you, first of all, I want to say we got the usual uh, roundup of Mac forum information, some tips and tricks to go along with it, and a few other things that we'll have in mind here. I've got a Hey Apple Fix This from our buddy Kirk, the iTunes guy McLaren, over at Macworld. That's coming up later in the show. We'll get to that in just a second. But for right now, I want to say welcome to our newest member. And that member at the moment is, let me see if I see him. Here he is, Brandon CB96. Okay, so welcome, Brandon, and all of our new members. I hope that you enjoy your time in the forum and find a lot of useful information there. There should be a lot of good information stacked up for you to find. If you're a lurker and you haven't joined yet, you can still take a look at the questions. But if you are going to post a question, then you need to become a member, which doesn't cost you anything. All right, so let's get right into some of the questions that we have been asked recently. This is a question, this first one, coming from member Disposable, is a question that occurs rather often, and that is uh, either someone is about to sell or trade or otherwise get rid of a used Mac or iPhone, or someone is about to buy a used Mac or iPhone, and they want to know about how to get rid of information that is on there. In other words, the previous owner's account details and that kind of thing. And Nick, one of our administrators, uh, posted a link to an Apple article that has some suggestions for you. Let's just take a quick look at this article. Uh, First thing, number one, right out of the box, and I can't stress this enough. If there is anything at all on there that you might want to keep, okay, back up the information. This article talks about when you're getting ready to give away or sell your Mac, uh, create a backup because you may find that there's something that you wanted needed on there in that old information, and it's going to be awful hard to try to get that back, especially when you no longer have the machine. The second thing you want to do is sign out of iTunes, sign out of your account. And the other thing you want to do is deauthorize that machine in iTunes. So you want to go into iTunes from the menu bar, and at the top choose account and authorizations, and then choose deauthorize this computer. Okay, you're going to be asked to enter your Apple ID and password and then click deauthorize. What deauthorizing does is it takes that computer or that device out of your iTunes list. Especially in the old days, there was some content that you could only play on a certain number of devices. And so when you got a new device and you were on the verge of exceeding that limit, you needed to go in and make a change so that one of your devices was no longer included in the list. It is much easier to do that when you have the device handy that you want to deauthorize. Because let's assume, for example, that you make a mistake and you forget to deauthorize a machine. And now you've sold the Mac or whatever, and you realize that you need to deauthorize that machine. The only way to do it really, once you've gotten rid of the machinery, is to basically deauthorize everything associated with your iTunes account, and then reauthorize them one by one. And it's a better system than it used to be, but it's still a little bit of a pain. While you have access to that system, make sure that you sign it out of iCloud by logging into iCloud with your Apple ID, uh, making backups of any of your iCloud data that you may have there, and then sign out of iCloud. Okay. And ask and allow it to remove the iCloud data from that Mac. That doesn't remove it from other devices. So you're okay there. But you do still want to make sure that you make a backup of your iCloud data. And then be sure also, beginning with Mountain Lion or higher, because that was the first OS that supported uh, messages on the Mac, iMessage, you want to sign out of iMessage as well so that your messages are not going to that other device. Um, and then doing an erase and reinstall of the OS, of OS 10. And they have a link there to an article about how to do that. It varies a little bit from machine to machine. This is a good article to keep around. And that reminds me of something that I'm planning to do, um, probably between now and the 1st of December. Look for it, maybe not next week, but probably the Sunday after Thanksgiving. I want to do a show where we spend a decent amount of time talking about how to, some places that you might want to, what you want to do with used Macs. What are some good places to trade them to, or some things that you really need to consider. I believe I wrote about this a while back when I was writing for about this particular Mac. There are some good options out there, but as always, there are some things that you need to consider before you do that. And so I want to make sure we spend some time talking about that. So that way, if you get new gear during the holidays, lucky you, and you decide to get rid of your old gear, we'll know that we've taken the appropriate steps, and then that the gear is going somewhere where it can still be used.